I'm Father Robert Lauder of Real Faith. I'm a professor of philosophy at St. John's University. I'd like to talk to you about some Western movies that I think are terrific films. The history of Hollywood, way back, one of the first films made was a Western, The Great Train Robbery. It's often used in film courses. And for 5 or 6 decades, Westerns were very popular. They don't seem to be making Westerns anymore, and that's unfortunate because I think they're very good films. They can be very good films, and it's very clear what evil is, and it's very clear what good is. One of my favorite Westerns is High Noon with Gary Cooper. The film, it doesn't quite correspond to actual time, but it almost does. He gets married in the morning, and he's got a couple of hours before the noon train comes in, and he finds out that a man he sent away to prison, Frank Miller, is coming to kill him. And nobody in the town is ready to help him. He's the sheriff, Will Kane. Nobody. Everyone's got an excuse. You know, I'm married, I've got kids, and so on. And you sympathize with him because it seems like the odds are very much against him. There's a song, you know, do not forsake me, oh my darling. It tells the whole story of the movie. So the suspense builds up. So I think that's a great Western. John Ford kind of raised the level of Westerns with his his masterpiece, Stagecoach. I think of it as kind of a Canterbury Tales in the West. He put 6 people on a stagecoach, and each one's got a different story, and through their interaction, they influence one another. John Wayne is the star of the movie, but he was not a big star when the movie was made, and this is like a little interesting thing, where the first time you see him, Ford shoots him from a distance, and his face is kind of blurred, and then it becomes clear. It's almost now, when you look at it now, it's almost saying, the camera's saying, keep your eye on this guy. He's going to be a big star. But my favorite Western is Shane. Came out in 1953. And that's when I first saw it. I've seen it many times. I use it in a film course. When it came out, I knew a number of people I sort of palled around with. I was just starting college, who were lawyers. And all of them were very enthused about this film. And I knew there was something different about this Western, but I could not articulate it. I couldn't figure it out. And I didn't figure it out till years later when I read a long essay about it. I think what's different about it is that Shane is a Christ figure. And once you get that key, it's very clear, at least to me, that he is a Christ figure. I had a discussion on this film once with Woody Allen, and he likes the film very much. And everything he said about it, I agree with. And I said, you know, you've left out one thing. And he said, what's that? I said, I think he's a Christ figure. Now I'm going to tell you why I think that. At the beginning of the movie, he comes out of the mountains. We don't know where he's coming from. He rides into this small homesteader's ranch, and he passes through water. It seems to me this is like, you know, either passing through the Red Sea or entering into a kind of a baptismal experience. The family he comes upon, the man's name is Joseph, the wife's name is Mary, and they have a child. The symbolism of the Holy Family is obvious. Immediately, he identifies with these people and realizes they're going to be treated unjustly by the cattle baron. As the film develops, you see that Shane, oh, by the way, when he introduces him, he says, call me Shane. There's a trumpet blast on the soundtrack. It's almost like director George Stevens is saying, I hope everybody's getting this. This guy is special. Now, much of what happens in traditional Westerns happens in this movie, but Stevens takes it one step further, okay? He raises it a little bit higher. Shane Shane is celibate. He relates to men and women in a very healthy way. As the film develops, you can see he is in love with Marion. And you get a hint that if she's not in love with him, she's certainly attracted to him, and yet their relationship is very chaste. At the end of the film, when he's leaving, she says to him, he's going out to fight the villain, who's played wonderfully by Jack Palance. His name is Wilson. And she says, are you doing this for me? And he says, for you, for Joe, for little Joe. And then she says, we'll never see you again. And he says, never's a long time. And then he rides off perhaps to death. He may be offering up his life to save this family. He goes in to face Wilson, and he wins the gunfight. But he is wounded, and we see the blood on his hand, dripping from his hand. And as he rides away, he does not ride away into the sunset, which is the way many Westerns end. He rides away into the sunrise, which is a resurrection image. Earlier, when he went into the gunfight, he rode through a cemetery, and Stevens holds a cross from the cemetery on the screen for 5 seconds. And you know, if you're paying attention, what's going on here? Why does he highlight that? Once again, it's a sign that this is a special character. So I think Catholic viewers especially may get something from this film, because here's a Christ figure, and if my interpretation is right, it really is speaking to our faith. You know, this is an image of Christ. So I love Westerns, and I've seen some great ones, and I think there are a number of great ones, but my favorite is Shane. If you get a chance, watch it and bounce off my interpretation. See if you agree with me that he is a Christ figure. Whether you agree or not, I think you'll enjoy the movie.